What's going on YouTube? Roxas the Torterra here, and today we are bringing you a post-commentary battle that I've had on Pokemon Showdown, I believe yesterday? Well, it's not a battle, it's going to be more than one. I think I'm going to be sharing 3 with you. They were really good battles. I was practicing my Mega Lopunny team, and I was like, you know what? Let's save these battles, because there were some battles that I had that were like crazy. I lost a lot of battles yesterday, but I lost a lot, but I won a lot. It kind of evened itself out. Though there were some sets on Pokemon that I never thought would be possible. I don't even know. I wish I recorded those battles. I didn't get to record those. I mean, not record, but save them in the replay because I forgot. After I lost or won, sometimes I would leave the battle and I forgot. And I was like, oh, those were good battles. I should have saved those. Even the ones I lost. I believe I lost like a couple of battles I'm about to show you. I don't know if I don't remember. But they were really good battles, regardless. But anyway, let's get right into it. Let's resume. So I led with Darmanitan and he leads with a Azumarill. Of course, I go for the U-turn because I don't know. I felt like he was gonna switch, so I just went for the U-turn. I'm surprised he didn't go for the Aqua Jet, to be honest. I was actually gonna go for Flare Blitz at first, but I was like, I might as well U-turn. Then I went to Electro and went for Hidden Power. He protects. So I'm like, let's see what he does. He stays in still, and I go for another Hidden Power, and I get the Hidden Power Fire off on him. He sets up Lead Seed. He survived the Hidden Power Fire. I switch out, go to Lopunny. He goes for the Protect, which is pretty obvious. So I just Mega Evolve and I go for the Fake Out. Anyway, I'm like, surprised he didn't go for Protect again. Then he flinches. Then he goes for the Protect. And then I go for the Jump Kick. And I'm like, oh my god. That was so obvious to figure out. But I'm like, you know what? I'm going to have to just go for it again. Because I need this Ferrodor now. And of course I had Rocky Helmet and Iron Barb. So I was like, well, oh well. Going to my Electro. He goes into Gengar like I suspected. But I double out. Expecting him to switch. But he does not. So I go into Ferrodor and I take Shadow Ball. He switches out, goes into Talonflame. I go for the T-Wave because I know his Talonflame is coming in. I didn't set up the Stealth Rocks. So he goes for Sword Dance. I believe now I set up Stealth Rocks. Yes? Yeah. And then I go for a... After he Brave Birds me, I go for a Gyro Ball, I believe. Or a Lead Seed. Most likely a Lead Seed. Yes, there's the Lead Seed. I'm sorry, guys. So he has Sword Dance up. I'm just Lead Seeding away at him. I switch. Go into my Slow Majesty, my Slow King. He goes for a Roost. So I'm like, really? This guy's pretty gutsy. He switches out, goes into Amoonguss. I go for the Scowl just in case, because I can't be too safe. After I go for, he goes for the Giga Drain, I'm Assault Vested. I do go for the Side Shock. And it does a crap ton of damage. So I'm like, you do not want to stay in here with that Amoonguss. He switches into the Azumarill. I'm like, okay. I go for the Side Shock. Even though I was predicting that, I was not predicting the knockoff. I forgot that it gets knockoff. So I'm like, well, there goes my special wall. So I go into Ferrodor. He switches, goes into Talonflame. I'm like, why would you do that? So I go for the Lead Seed. He goes in this because he has Roost, so I'm like, okay, that's true, you have Roost, so you can just Roost your damage back up. So instead he goes for a Swords Dance. I'm like, okay, I go for the Gyro Ball and get a crit, wow. So I'm waiting for the Lead Seed to kill him, and I'm like, wait a sec, he has Leftovers Talonflame, oh my god. Then he goes for the Roost. So I go for another Gyro Ball, I'm like, I'm gonna have to get him to kill himself, somehow. And he goes for something, and then he gets Parrot, so I laugh. I'm just laughing, I have full health on my Ferrodor now. And he's still going for whatever he's going for. So I switch out and go into my Florges just in case he gets the Brave Bird off. But he doesn't get it off this turn. So I stay in with Florges and go for a Sidekick. He goes for the Brave Bird and he knocks me out. I'm like, well, that's all I wanted to be knocked out, so I can pretty much clean up with my Electrode. So I go for the Thunderbolt here, or the Volt Switch rather. Because I realized he has a Manectric, so I don't want to go straight for the Thunderbolt. Just in case, but he didn't switch out. Then he goes, I switch into my Ferrodor and he goes for the Shadow Ball. He goes for another Shadow Ball and I go for the Lead Seed. Gengar has a Seed on him and he's getting absorbed. He goes for another Shadow Ball. I'm like, well, these Seeds should take him out after this T-Wave. And it does. I stayed in only because of that. So I could have honestly switched into something else, but I don't want to take any more damage. So he goes into Mega Manectric, goes for the Flame Door on me, knocks out my Ferrodor. That's okay, that's okay. So I go into Darmanitan, and I go for the Earthquake. And he stays in. I'm like, okay, he stayed in. I guess he thought he outsped. Then he goes into Azumarill. I'm like, well, this is pretty obvious what he's going to do here. So he goes for the Aqua Jet. I'm like, oh man. Then he gets Parrot, so I'm like, oh, he got paralyzed. Not bad. And I lived the Aqua Jet, so I go for the T-Ball here. Knock him out. Well, a Volt Switch rather. I go for the Volt Switch. I keep mistaking it for T-Ball. And then I go into my Darmanitan to finish up the game with the Flare Blitz. So that was pretty cool. Mega Lopunny didn't really show her face as much. It was okay. It was pretty much okay even if that happened. But I was like, I might as well just go for the Flare Blitz. It didn't make sense not to. I mean, that was the last Pokemon. Lopunny dying early wasn't so bad either because I did use that to my advantage with the Ferrodor being knocked out because that was a threat to me. Also, he didn't even get to set up stealth rocks or anything. So that's the end of that battle. I will show you the next battle in a few seconds, right now. So this guy leads off with his Thunderous, and oh, oops. This guy leads with his Thunderous. Oh no, we cannot have that. Funny because I lead with Electro. Sorry about the music. I thought I'd turn that music off, but anyway. I go into Feraldorn, he goes for the hidden power, and I'm like, well, the Volt Switch happened, I feel like he's gonna Volt Switch me back. And he Volt Switches me with his Thunderous, so I'm like, well, he's probably gonna go into his own Feraldorn. So I'm like, okay, I can set up Stealth Rock, but it sucks because now he's gonna set up his Stealth Rock on me. So I go into Manatan, he goes for the Stealth Rock, I'm thinking of going for the Earthquake, assuming that the Tentacle comes in. He doesn't go for it, and he goes into his Dusclops instead. I'm like, I forgot Dusclops has Eviolite. He goes for the Confuse Ray, and I'm like, oh my god, hacks, Confuse hacks. So I stay in anyway, he goes for the Will-O-Wisp. I don't really mind. And I'm sitting here knocking myself in the head, because I'm confused and I'm getting burned. And then he goes for the Nightshade, I'm like, oh boy. I just throw the Leech Seed on him. And he stays in this whole time, so I'm like, you know what? And he switches, I'm like, he switched. Okay, so Confusion ends. I go for the T-Wave on his Feraldorn when it comes in. I get my Leftovers Recovery, I'm burning to death. Constantly, so I switch out, go to my Darmanitan. He doubles out and goes into Tentacruel, so of course I'm gonna go for the Earthquake. Then Dusclops comes back in, I'm like, oh, it's so obvious, I should've just went for either a U-turn or a Flare Blitz. I go for another Earthquake, it's not enough to take him out, I thought 2 would be enough, so he Pain Splits me. I wonder if I go for another Earthquake, what can he really do to me? I forgot to get the Pain Split. I'm like, oh, going to Feraldorn, I get Nightshade and I die. Going to my Lopunny, I go for the Fake Out. And he has no recovery at the moment. He has Eviolite, so I go for the Jump Kick, and it does not kill. I'm just like, are you serious? He goes for the Willow, I get burned, I'm like, I go for the Jump Kick and finally destroy this Dusclops. He goes into his Feraldorn, I'm like, let me get out of here, I'm burned, it's not gonna help the situation. I go to my Electrode. He goes for the Gyro Ball, which is resisted, stays in, and then he switches out. And I'm like, I guess he predicted that. And I go for the Hidden Power Fire, I'm like, well, Electrode's trapped because I'm locked into Hidden Power. Knocks me out with a Psychic. I'm like, oh my god. I go into my Darmanitan. I'm like, you know what? Earthquake again? I go for the Rock Slide instead because I'm like, maybe he'll go into Tentacruel or Thunderous, thinking I'm most likely Thunderous because I've gone for Earthquake twice. He goes into that instead and takes the Rock Slide easily. I go into my Slowbro to go for the Scalds. I honestly don't remember why I did this, but he starts setting up a curse. So I'm like, oh god. So I switch into my Florges, and of course he thinks Florges can't do anything, so he stays in, goes for the Leech Seed, he misses, and I go for a Hidden Power Fire. Again, I have 2 Pokemon that have Hidden Power Fire, just in case. And it is paralyzed. I go for another Hidden Power Fire, and knock out his Feraldorn. Honestly, he could have switched, but I'm glad he didn't. Goes into Tentacruel, I'm like, oh boy, I have to switch, but I'm not going to. So he goes for Toxic Spikes, I go for the Psychic, and it does not kill. And I'm just like, really? He has Black Stone's Recovery. I'm like, really? So he goes for another set of Toxic Spikes. I'm like, I have this feeling that I'm not going to lose this game at this point in the game. I feel like I'm not going to lose, really. I don't know why, but I just seeing how the battle is playing out. Then I get Side Shocked, and I'm like, well, maybe not. I probably am going to lose. There goes Darmanitan. I'm like, okay, I probably lost this. So I go into my Lopunny that's burned, and I go for the Return instead of a Fake Out. I'm not wasting any time here. I go for the Return, and he goes in his Lopunny. I'm like, well, great. I switch out, go into my Slowking. Get Poison. Goes for the Fake Out. And I'm like, let's see if he stays in. Believing he could kill me with a High Jump Kick. Now, he has High Jump Kick, and I don't know why. So I go for the Side Shock. I'm trying to find out how to get High Jump Kick on Showdown. I have Jump Kick only. And he goes to Return and knocks me out. So the Side Shock did a number on him. So I go into my Mega Lopunny and go for the Fake Out. He doesn't switch. And I'm like, well, that might have cost you the game. Because I have a chance at winning this now. Because the Stealth Rock deals him in. I go for the Ice Punch, and I win the game. So I was just like, oh my god, I could not believe I won that game. Just how close that... These battles are crazy good. They were like so close, up on top of each other. They were so close. Like this game, I thought I was definitely going to lose. Okay, that's the second battle, so let's go for one more. I'm gonna go for one more battle I had. So here we are with our last post-commentary battle in this video. And he leads with his Gliscor. As you can see the teams. And I go for a U-turn because this thing is probably going to go for an Earthquake or a knockoff. So I go into my Feraldorn, and he goes for a Stealth Rock, and I'm like, oh. So people still run Stealth Rock Gliscor. I mean, I have one with Stealth Rock, but I don't, so I don't use it. And he goes for a Taunt on my Feraldorn, predicting the Stealth Rocks. I should have remembered that it gets Taunt. So he goes for a knockoff on Slow Majesty. I stay in, for no reason. I thought it was pretty much pointless to keep it anymore at this point. So I go into my Lopunny. He doesn't protect, and I predict that and go for the Ice Punch right away. He goes for a Roost, and I'm like, even at this HP, you can't live an Ice Punch, so you have to switch. So he switches and goes into Rotom. I go for the Ice Punch anyway. And I'm like, I gotta get out of here before he Willows me or something. So I go into Ferrothorn. It's an easy prediction to make the Will-O-Wisp, but I can't go into Darmanitan because there's nothing I can do once I go into him. I could just U-turn, but that's about it. So I go into Ferrothorn, and I set up a Stealth Rock finally. He doesn't have Magic Bounce yet, so I don't mind. I switch out because I have a feeling he's going to Mega Evolve into Sableye. And he does. And I switch right into my Florges, and he goes for a 1 Calm Mind. And I'm like, okay, I'm going to go for a Moonblast. And I do. I predicted the Rotom kind of coming in, but I set this is my own spread of Florges that I got from my brother. And I tinkered around with the speed a bit so I could outspeed Rotoms just for this situation. And I Energy Balled it and I killed the Rotom. So I switch out predicting a Gunk Shot because it's pretty common now. And oh my god, the prediction was so on point. I was like, yes, I knew it. Because how you came in showed that he had a Gunk Shot. Then I go to my Ferrothorn and I go for the Gyro Ball. His Sableye comes through after switching. I'm like, I gotta get out of here. I gotta switch into Darmanitan instead of, and he goes for the Willow. And I get that off, and I'm like, okay, not bad. He goes into his Gliscor, and I go straight for a Rock Slide, predicting the Gliscor just in case he may want to go into something else, but rocks are neutral. So I switch back into my Ferrothorn. I'm expecting a knockoff here, and he gets the knockoff off, and I'm just like, oh, it's not so terrible, it's not so terrible, it's not so terrible. So I'm like, alright, let me get out of here. I'm predicting him to go for a Roost or something of that sort, and he does. So I stay in, and he goes for a knockoff, and I go straight for the Moonblast, and it does a lot of damage to him. Next, he switches into his Clefable, and I'm just like, alright, I'm going to still go for the Moonblast, obviously, because it's neutral, even if he wants to. And I lowered his special attack, so I'm like, let me switch out. And I go into my Darmanitan, just in case, and I know he's going to Moonlight, obviously. So then I go for the Flare Blitz, and it almost knocks out the Clefable, and I'm like, I feel like I know what he's going to do here. He's going to stall me on Moonlight. So I'm like, I might as well stay in anyway, because I'm about to die. And that does a lot of damage to his Clefable. He goes for the Moonlight one more time, and I'm just like, alright, I have an idea. So I switch and go into my Lopunny after my Darmanitan died. I go for the Fake Out, obviously the stall turn. Gets Leftovers Recovery, and I'm like, this has to kill. So I go for a Return, it does not kill. He goes for the Moonlight, and I'm like, he goes for Moonlight? You know what? He switches, and I'm like, okay. So I go for a Return, I'm like, you are not living this. And he lives at 3. Gliscor lives at 3, he has so much defense and HP. And I go for another Return and it knocks him out. He goes to Talonflame. I'm like, I'm not risking it at this point in the game. I'm going to switch out and go to Ferrothorn, even if he goes for Sword Dance. And he goes straight for the Brave Bird, so I'm happy about that. And looking at the range that his health is in, I go back in the Lopunny and fake it out. Bop. There goes the Talonflame. I was so happy at this point. He goes into Sableye. I'm just like, oh, let me go for a Return. And I'm like, wait, that's bad. He could not only recover, but burn me. And I'm like, wait, let me go for a Jump Kick. Isn't that super effective? And I knock him out. I'm like, of course. And then at this point, I'm just like, I might as well get out of here and go into my Electrode, see what he does. Goes for the Hydro, and one shot's my Electrode. I'm just like, oh my god. I go back into my Lopunny, and I go straight for the Fake Out, obviously. And then looking at his HP at this point, I'm just like, this has to die. And it gets a crit return, so I'm guessing that's the only reason why I killed it. He goes into his Greninja, takes more Stealth Rock damage. I stay in, and he misses the Gunk Shot, and I go straight for the Return, and I win the battle. I mean, he pretty much had the game. I guess he was trying to predict me to go into my Florges, because I believe, oh wait, no, it's vice versa. I was gonna say I believe fighting resists poison, but it's actually that poison that resists fighting, I believe. So yeah. But these 3 battles were amazing. I just thought they came down so close to the wire that I had to upload these. Well, just upload this video with three battles in it. But yeah, you guys get what I'm saying. But anyway, this is the end of the video. I hope you guys enjoyed. Mount punch the heck out like button, like in the friendly. Break it, destroy it, do whatever you want with it. Just don't hit that dislike button because it'll make me really, really sad. And I won't understand why you guys would do that to me. Coming on my channel to dislike my videos. But anyway, it's up to you. I hope you guys enjoyed this battle. From here on out, I'm going to be using Mega Lopunny in some of my Showdown battles from here on. Because we are done with the Mega Sharpedo team. And Mega Sharpedo has had a good run. You guys seen the power. You guys just have to know how to use it. Just focus on Sharpedo Speed Boost when you get it in. And make sure that there's no threats to your Sharpedo. And make sure that you also have the chance to one-shot or get close to one-shotting most of the Pokemon. Make sure you set up your stealth rocks or spikes or whatever hazards you have, just in case Torpedo can outspeed them. Like if you were on Sticky Web and you Mega Evolve early, well, make sure you have Sticky Web or something like that. But Speed Boost is pretty much all you need at some points. Like you could come in against a Pokemon that's a threat to you and it has like no HP left. You go for a Waterfall and knowing you outspeed it, and then you get a Speed Boost. Then you can protect when your next Pokemon comes in and you get 2 Speed Boosts. And then you go Mega Evolve right off the bat. So there you go. But anyway, like I said, check out the like button. Leave some comments in the section below. Tell me what you enjoyed about this video. Tell me what you would do with Mega Lopunny, or tell me what other Megas you want to see me use, because I'm trying my best to use all of these new Megas that I've had in Omega Ruby and Alpha Sapphire so far. And Lopunny, of course, is one of my favorite Megas because it's adding to the Sinnoh collection of Mega Stones. So far, we have Mega Lopunny, Mega Lucario, Mega Gallade, Mega Abomasnow, and Mega Garchomp. So in total, we have 5 for Sinnoh. So I'm so hyped. I can't wait for the next game, and I can't wait for another remake, and hopefully it takes place in Sinnoh, because everyone's saying the remake is going to take place in Sinnoh. But regardless, I just hope we get a whole slew of Mega Evolution Stones for our new, for our remaining Pokemon in Sinnoh. Because Sinnoh seems to be like the last, other than Unova, because Unova is still quite new in its own way. It's Gen 5. We're only 1 generation away from it, because we're in Gen 6. So we're 2 gens ahead of 4, so it's like they could probably remake 4 and give us a whole bunch of Megas. And I'm sure that even though if we do get a Sinnoh remake, I'm sure they'll bring a whole bunch of Gen 5 stones as well, because they hardly have any Megas, so they only have 1. I'm surprised they actually even have 1. I'm surprised they didn't give that slot to a Kanto Pokemon for Audino. Instead of giving a Mega Audino, I'm sure they would. I was thinking they would give it to a Johto Pokemon or even a Kanto. It would have been amazing if they gave it to a Sinnoh Pokemon, but hey. I do expect to see more Hoenn Megas though in another game, like Mega Flygon and Mega Milotic, to be quite honest with you guys. But anyway, I'm rambling, I'm ranting. I'm just so hyped about just friggin' battling right now. I don't know. The Megas are amazing. Well, that's all I gotta say. And with that, please subscribe if you guys haven't yet. And if you have any friends that like Pokemon, tell them to come and check out my content on this channel. And I hope you guys enjoyed, and your support is greatly appreciated. Thank you so much. But with that, I'm out. Bye!